Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers on the broadcast today, part one of my interview with Congresswoman Dina Titus. She's here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Hello, is this D&D Roofing?
Yes, it is. How may I help you?
You did such a great job on my roof. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner.
Oh, can I speak to your supervisor?
Sure.
How may I help you?
I love your work. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner. We're all owners. Well, that's why at D&D we work so hard to keep your home safe and sound.
Oh, no wonder.
D&D Roofing and Sheet Metal. Local, employee-owned, here for you.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org.
Pro Group Management is the place where companies can find workers' comp solutions that are designed to meet their specific business requirements. As regulations evolve, Pro Group takes a proactive approach to clear the path to make sure your business stays ahead of the curve. Knowing your workers' comp program is optimized, you can focus on other important matters related to your growing business. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Safety is the #1 priority for the trucking industry. Over $7 billion a year is spent on technology like this electronic eye that will apply the brakes automatically. But the most important factor for safety is the truck driver. These hardworking men and women who safely move over 70% of our nation's freight and 94% of Nevada's. We thank you because trucks move America forward.
Can't do it. Stupid, like my mom.
We can't do anything at Mommy's because you won't pay child support.
Dad said you cheated, and he's not even sure he's my dad.
Mommy said you left both of us, so she isn't gonna let me see you. I look just like my father.
I'm divorce attorney Marilyn York, and I may represent men, but hate has no gender, only casualties. Please, stop sacrificing your children in your war against your ex.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we are delighted, as always, to welcome back to the program Congresswoman Dina Titus of CD1. Pleasure to have you back on the program. It's such a shame. The morning we're recording this, absolutely nothing happened last night. Oh, no, there was this one thing. It was the first debate. So let's start out with just your initial thoughts on last night's debate.
Well, the American people are the ones who lost because they certainly didn't hear very much policy discussion. But the way they won was by seeing the contrast between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Joe Biden kept just trying to talk about health care or trying to talk about foreign policy, talk about the economy. And Donald Trump just kept trying to be a bully, throwing out all these lies he usually tells, interrupting Joe Biden, getting in a fight with the narrator. It was quite the scene.
What do you think the strategy, and for those that don't know, before you were a congresswoman, you're political science by trade. What do you think the strategy was on the Trump campaign side of trying to run a debate like this?
Well, it's hard to get in the mind of Trump. His team agreed to all the details of the debate, the 2 minutes, non-interrupting. It was all set in advance, but there was no way he was going to do that. He just wanted to be a bully and thought he could do that to Joe Biden, and it just didn't work. Made himself look bad, not Joe Biden look bad.
Who has control at this point? Does the Federal Debate Commission, of which Frank Fahrenkopf is a member, do they have the ability to, say, for example, allow the moderator or somebody or a team to push the mute button? Or would that just totally be off the table in terms of allowing the public to hear something? Or is it better for the public to see this in all of its glory?
Well, it was better for Joe Biden last night because you saw the polls right afterwards. Everybody thought he won and that Trump's negatives went up. But I can see why the commission would say that narrator has, not narrator, but moderator has the right to mute a mic if you just keep interrupting and not let someone speak. I'm not sure what they'll decide, but a lot of the pundits have said that should be a condition of future debates because they're just not meaningful without something like that.
When you have something like this on a presidential debate level, there are so many wannabes in the political world that does it concern you that debates in general on every level, state, regional, local, are going to end up devolving into this, and therefore the value of debates is going to be diminished?
Well, it's certainly a possibility. I hope not. This is a chance for the public to see their candidates talk about where they stand on the issues. For example, when Donald Trump told the Proud Boys, step back and stay ready, or something to that, stand back and stand by, that was a real insight into who Donald Trump is. So I hope that debates remain meaningful. But what happens is each side appeals to their own base, and the people who are undecided, if it's like last night, don't get any information to help them decide. And if it's a good debate, then maybe they're swayed one way or the other. But more and more, you're not even having as many debates as you used to. And when you do have them, there's a lot of hot air and not a lot of substance.
Right, and that's certainly true in our great state of Nevada as well. You know, one of the things that you brought up there, which is really important, is that even though potentially there was 100, I haven't seen the Nielsen ratings yet, but there was potentially, they were saying 100 million people were going to watch, almost a third of the population of the United States. But the reality is that the appeal is only really going to 5% of the population, which is, as you pointed out, the undecideds, people who at almost 4 years in still haven't decided whether they like Donald Trump or not, or whether they like Joe Biden or not. So, you know, how do you benefit that 5% to get them to either side when you have a debate like this?
I suspect a lot of people didn't even listen to the whole thing. They just turned it off in disgust. I can't believe anybody hadn't made up their mind in this election. The contrast is so stark. But maybe there are a few people who are undecided, and it's hard to reach them. This whole campaign season is very different, as you know, Sam. Here we are doing something virtually, doing it long distance, doing it by Zoom. There's no knocking doors and talking to people and having gatherings like you usually do, or going to speak to different groups. So it's going to be difficult to convince that undecided. But the main thing is we've got to turn people out to vote and be sure that they believe the vote is true. That's something else that came out so clearly in that debate, how Donald Trump has tried to make people say the vote won't count, or the vote is fraudulent, or this election is not legitimate, to try to tamp down votes, because he doesn't want a high turnout because people who are voting aren't going to be for him.
One of the things that I find interesting too is the choice people make now about where they watch the debate, for example, because we have people so cloistered in their own groups. So Democrats are going to lean towards MSNBC and CNN. Republicans are going to lean towards Fox News. I mean, about the only place where you're not going to get biased to either side is going to be C-SPAN, and I don't think a whole lot of people are watching the debates on C-SPAN. So have these networks now, and including the broadcast networks, become even more important because their analysis is an echo chamber of what the campaigns want to be said?
Well, what's said after the debate is often more significant than what's said during the debate, from the spin rooms, from the two campaigns trying to interpret what was said, and from the commentators. But what was interesting about last night is all three of those cable channels, from MSNBC to Fox, said what a bad debate it was. And you remember the moderator last night was a Fox moderator, and he kept trying to call Trump down, tell him to stop interrupting, and he just lost control of it. So I would say last night's analysis was pretty even-handed, and maybe Fox was a little more positive, maybe MSNBC a little more negative, but across the board, everybody thought that this was a disaster and that Trump did not help himself and just came across as a bully.
We have 2 more presidential debates and a vice presidential debate. Do you get the sense that the tone of the vice presidential debate is going to be a lot different than the presidential debates?
I think it'll be very different. Pence is not the kind of person that Trump is. He's not bellicose. He's not going to be interrupting. He'll probably try to talk more about policy and defend the president. But we've also seen Kamala Harris. She's a great debater. She's a great litigator. We've seen her actions in the Judiciary Committee and the Senate. It'll be more high-toned, I think, and I think we'll come out ahead. But certainly you won't see that kind of interruption and rudeness and bullying that you saw from Trump, unless Pence has changed a lot since I've worked with him.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back with more with Congresswoman Dina Titus after this timeout.
Your good times are at Tamarack Casino. All new DC Cafe and Bar, serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Ooh, your good times at Tamarack.
Your good times are at Tamarack Casino.
Because of UMC, I'm putting my free time to good use.
Because of UMC, she keeps me on my toes.
Because of UMC and this guy, I'm here.
UMC, the highest level of care in Nevada.
Hi, I'm Eric Robnett, owner of Home Energy Experts. Has this ever happened to you?
Honey, did you remember to turn down the thermostat?
Forgetting to set the temperature? Not fun. We can help. Our new smart thermostat keeps the temperature set for your comfort all by itself.
I'm feeling hot now.
To increase your comfort, go to homeenergyexperts.com for details. That's homeenergyexperts.com.
The signs and symptoms of cataracts can start out small with subtle changes in your vision. So don't wait. Be proactive and take your vision into your own hands. If you're experiencing the onset of cataracts or just have questions, contact your eye care professional or call Eye Care Associates of Nevada today. Dr. Hiss has years of experience specializing in the surgical correction of eye disorders and has completed over 84,000 vision correcting procedures. At Eye Care Associates of Nevada, we'll change the way you look at the world.
Your good times are at Tamarack Casino. All new DC Cafe and Bar, serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Ooh, your good times at Tamarack.
Your good times are at Tamarack Casino.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Congresswoman Dina Titus of CD1. She's in Washington, D.C. What are the chances now that the Democrats in the House have proposed a lower cost bill for more relief from the coronavirus, of that actually getting passed before the election?
I'm optimistic about it. We went from $3 trillion to about $2.2 trillion, but still got the basic programs that we wanted to see in there: rent relief, more testing and coronavirus equipment for schools to open, relief for states and local governments. Those are very important things. We know that Pelosi is meeting today with representatives from the president, Munchin, and so we're pretty optimistic something will happen this week. Republicans want something. You know, these shouldn't be partisan issues. You got Democratic and Republican states in trouble, and they need something to take home to their districts, especially some of those vulnerable Republican senators. So I'm feeling better about it as of today.
So that bill would restore the $1,200 to the individuals, and then also the $600 a week supplemented to the unemployment. Is that correct?
That's right. So everybody who got $1,200 before will get another $1,200 in a direct payment, and the supplement to unemployment will go to the end of the year. And you know how much we need that in Nevada. We still have the highest unemployment in the country. So many people are out of work because we depend so heavily on tourism, travel, hospitality.
All right, let's take another break and then we'll come back and talk about tourism and travel right after this time out.
Dimitri Prine here for Design Outdoor. Come visit Design Outdoor's store and backyard to see our wide selection of fire pits, barbecues, and pizza ovens, natural stone water features and fountains, and frost-proof pottery. Our store and backyard are located at 11600 South Virginia, just north of DeMonte Ranch Parkway. Visit designoutdoor.com or call us at 851-9499.
Can't do it. Stupid, like my mom.
We can't do anything at Mommy's because you won't pay child support.
Dad said you cheated, and he's not even sure he's my dad.
Mommy said you left both of us, so she isn't gonna let me see you. I look just like my father.
I'm divorce attorney Marilyn York, and I may represent men, but hate has no gender, only casualties. Please, stop sacrificing your children in your war against your ex.
Hi, I'm Dave Newman. Remember me? I used to be the house detective, and now I'm a realtor, full-time at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates. A lot of people ask me, how's the market? You know what? It's fantastic. If you're even kicking around the idea of buying or selling, give me a call. Let's talk about it. Call me at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates and just ask for the guy who used to be the house detective, Dave Newman.
Everyone is talking about opioids, but they're not the only drugs that can be harmful if taken in large quantities or not as prescribed. You also need to be aware of side effects from anxiety drugs, muscle relaxants, sleep aids, and stimulants. Mixing prescription drugs with other drugs or alcohol can be dangerous. If you take Ambien with a glass of wine, it may be enough to stop you from breathing. Prescribed drugs can be just as dangerous as illegal drugs. Take medications only as directed.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Congresswoman Dina Titus of CD1. For those that may not realize, the entire Las Vegas Strip is within your district. The governor opened things up from 50 people limit at meetings and conventions to 250 people. That would include churches, etc. And so obviously that's good news. But is that good enough in terms of trying to get people to come back to conventions and meetings in Las Vegas, which is a huge part of the midweek business?
Well, everybody's frustrated by having to stay at home. They want to go to work. They want their children to go to school. They want the economy to come back. But we have to remember that the economy is tied to the pandemic. And the governor has been very smart about opening us up back gradually. He's listened to the scientists. He's listened to the healthcare experts, and it's working. Our numbers are down. So you don't want to rush into something, have it spike again, maybe have to close down again. Then it would take longer to recover and be more expensive. But people still want to come to Las Vegas. We have reports that the airport at McCarran is recovering more quickly than any other major airport in the country. Now, it's still way down from what it was, but people are still coming. So they are starting to feel safe, and having those things in place, like all the casinos that have reopened with the hand cleaning and the sterilizing and the mask, all that's working, and people appreciate it. So it's only a handful of people who say we got to open now where you're too stupid to wear masks.
I'm not going to bring up any names here, so we can just carry on with questions here. Gary Carano was on the program, and I asked him if, at this point, it's gamblers who are coming to Las Vegas and to the other casinos, but entertainment and food and conventions are major parts of the experience, and we're really not going to get the industry back until those things open up. What, from the experts you've talked to, what is your sense of how long it's going to take? World of Concrete, the big convention, now has delayed into the middle of next year. They are going to come back to Las Vegas, but that's a huge one.
It is. We think about tourists coming for fun, but we really rely heavily on the convention business. And how many jobs are tied to that. That's a big problem that we worry about our families here in Nevada. I think it's Jeremy Aguero, who's the big number cruncher in the state, who said it may take 4 years to get back to where we were. But the rodeo is just 1 year, they're coming back. CES, just 1 year, they're not here, then they're coming back. If we can get a vaccine, then I think you'll see it come back more quickly. And if we can get these numbers to level out so that people don't back off of the safeguards, but continue to practice them, that will also be helpful. Entertainment is hurt badly too. That's why I'm a co-sponsor of what they call the STAGE Act, to try to get some federal funding for the smaller entertainment venues. And there's also a Restart Act that would provide funding for some restaurants. That's very important, because many of the small restaurants that are closing, if they can't get some help, they may not ever come back.
One of the things that's been interesting about all of this is that the warnings about a pandemic go back really to the Bush administration, the George W. Bush administration. And so from the Bush administration to the Obama administration to the Trump administration, nobody really was prepared for this to hit the way that it did. Could you ever see a time when a government would expend the amount of money necessary to prepare for something like a pandemic before it actually occurred? Would the Congress pass something like that?
Well, the Obama administration had some experience with this, with the Ebola pandemic, and they left a handbook of how to deal with it, and there was a commission in place, and that was not funded by Trump, and it was dissolved by his administration. So we would be a lot further ahead if we hadn't done that. Also, to pull out of the World Health Organization in the middle of a pandemic just makes no sense, to not be at that table, to be making some international decisions, because this doesn't stop at the border, as we have seen. We weren't prepared. We need to do more. We need to see what's in the stockpile for respirators, for example, or PPE, so that we would be ready if this comes again. Or if some people are saying we have a second wave of the COVID during the winter, it's not really a second wave, it's just kind of a continuation or magnification of the first wave.
Well, I'm going to presume that the Obama administration passed on the recommendations of a commission, but didn't fund the preparations. Pat Mulroy was on the program recently, and she's on the board of WIN, and she was talking about how in Macau, WIN is practicing shutting down and opening up their properties as rapidly as possible, because she believes that due to climate change, that we're going to see more of these kind of pandemics in the future. Is that your thinking?
I fear that's the case, and we need to be ready for it. Surely we have learned from this pandemic that that's not the way to do business. But this president, Sam, has had no plan. He denied it was going to be a problem, even after he knew, and he now admits that he knew and tried to tamp it down way back in February. He had no plan for schools to open, said just open because he wanted them to. He looks at the stock market, not at the death toll, unfortunately, with over 200,000 people have already passed away. We needed some kind of national guidance. It's all been dumped in the laps of governors. Some have done better than others. Our governor, I think, has done the right thing. Look what happened in Florida when their governor said, oh, let's open up all the beaches for spring break. And the numbers just kept increasing.
And you are going to see an increase and spikes as every little thing that opens up. People are going to take more advantage, and especially young people, whether they're college students or teenagers. If you don't open up venues where they can safely go, somebody's going to rent a warehouse and have a rave, and you're going to see a spread because of that. So I think there has to be a balance, don't you think, between the realities of the world and what we'd like to see.
Well, of course, and that's why I think the governor has now moved gradually to open up facilities. Churches, people want to go back to church. Children want to go back to school. I want to go back out to eat dinner or go to the movies. But you just have to be smart about it. And when you open up, you have to remember, even though it's open, you got to do social distancing and wear a mask. If we forget about all of that, there's no question it'll come back. Look what happened in Sturgis, North Dakota. Look what happened at that wedding in Maine. We just have to be careful. And that is not a political partisan statement. That's just good common sense and courtesy, because it's not just protecting yourself, it's protecting the people around you.
Let's talk about the Clark County Lands Bill. Is that going to make it through this session of Congress?
No.
And
We've been working on that for several years. You know, it's like the balloon, you squeeze it here, it pops up there. We've been making some progress on it, and I don't think it'll get through. I hope to see some provisions in there for incentivizing the construction of low income housing, because there's such a need for that in Reno and in Las Vegas. And we have to protect our natural resources. We can't just say, you know, everything is open for growth and more construction. We've been through that before. You remember my ring around the valley in the state legislature that said, let's build in, not build out. But we're working on it, making some progress. So we'll start again in the new Congress.
Do you have time? We're out of time for this show, but do you have time to stick around for a few more minutes? And because I got a bunch more questions, if that's okay.
I got 5 minutes. They can talk to Erica. Go ahead. What did you want to ask me?
All right. A bird's eye captures its surroundings at different heights. At Brian Culpa Photography, we can make your imagination soar over buildings, parks, cityscapes, and beyond. Brian's images tell the story and get the job done. If you need a new perspective to tell your story, contact Brian today. Brian Culpa Photography. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com.
Hi, my name's Marilyn Miner, and I'm sure you'd agree that Nevada's a very special place to live. I was born here, and my husband and I have raised our family here. I feel it's a privilege to live and work in the Truckee Meadows. I especially enjoy helping my clients reach their real estate goals. Sometimes the smallest details provide the greatest satisfaction. I'd be complimented to talk to you about your next move.
Call Marilyn Miner at Dixon Realty, 742-1280, or log on to marilynminer.com.
Safety. We all think about it. You think about it when he buckles in, when you check your mirrors and put away your phone. RTC thinks about safety too. In fact, we create it. Center turn lanes mean fewer blind spots. Bike lanes keep cyclists and you safe. Roundabouts reduce injury collisions, and all these crosswalks are designed to keep families like yours safe. Safety is your priority, and it's ours too. Every day, in everything we do.
Pro Group Management is the place where companies can find workers' comp solutions that are designed to meet their specific business requirements. As regulations evolve, Pro Group takes a proactive approach to clear the path to make sure your business stays ahead of the curve. Knowing your workers' comp program is optimized, you can focus on other important matters related to your growing business. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
You can now watch Nevada Newsmakers on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and search for Nevada Newsmakers and become a subscriber. We'll see you on the next broadcast. Thanks for watching and listening.